on for 40 years. Oh, we got the recording started. Okay. Yes, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was on TV for more than 40 years. So chances are generations of people have seen that show. I don't know for sure about this, but when I think of him and this song in particular, I think of the biblical quote from Luke 10:27. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So my first comment about that is I see this statement in particular as the 3 true commandments of the Bible. Love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. And I've always seen and understood my neighbor to be whomever was in front of me, not who's next door, but who's by my side, who I'm attending to. So again, I don't know for sure if the Bible is where he drew his inspiration, but Mr. Rogers was a theologian. He was a Presbyterian minister. For college, he almost went to seminary, but he decided to major in music composition instead. And if there was an overarching message in his life, it was surely that to love your neighbor as yourself. He emanated that message to such a degree that his presence was a force that people could feel. I've watched documentaries on him and listened to some books. And I even watched a video of him testifying before Congress, trying to ensure that public television would be funded. And he had a powerful impact. His simple but powerful message impacted that congressman so forcefully that the congressman, this surly old guy, said that he got goosebumps. And it only took Fred Rogers 6 minutes to ensure a $20 million grant for public television. The video is on YouTube, so you can look it up if you want to, if you're curious. Yeah, he had poise and clarity, and that cuts through all the noise. This type of gentleness is not something normally associated with strength. But the people in the documentaries that I watched about his life felt his strength. They felt his presence. They would say that when he walked into the room, you could feel his presence. Such was that power of conviction. And he came upon this power, as many people do, through some adverse events in his life, such as being bullied as a child. And where some people take those experiences and use them in a negative way, Fred used them to better himself and to resolve not only to never treat anybody else like that, but to do the exact opposite with every single person that he encountered. He would often say, I like you just the way you are. And how often do we hear this message? How often have we ever heard it in our lives? Said directly to our faces like that. You know, once, twice, if we're lucky, right? Usually never. So he said many things that I found impactful in their simplicity. One of the things he would say to the children, if something is mentionable, it's manageable. And we'll come back to that one later on in the talk. So the message was not complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, this was an intentional choice on his part. He would often say that deep and simple is better than shallow and complex. Deep and simple is better than shallow and complex. He did not gloss over difficult subjects. As a part of his children's show, targeted at very young children, he addressed divorce, death, violence, and current affairs as they happened through those decades from the 60s through 2003, which was the last year of his show. He believed that there is something beautiful, noble, and sacred in every person. He would look for what is essential in another person. And I find this thought helpful, especially when I'm dealing with somebody that I perceive as a difficult person. To see that person as beautiful, noble, and sacred, that can really seem like a stretch sometimes. It's easy when it's somebody that you like, or, something you find beautiful, but the, difficult has different definitions for different people. So if it seems like a stretch to view that person as beautiful, noble, and sacred, I try to remember a quote that I heard from a radio interview years ago. It was a woman who was an author on a book of forgiveness. And I never forgot what she said. This one phrase, she said, "Behind every jerk is a sad story." And jerk was not the word that she used, but I'm keeping it church-like today. Again, this life is a journey to compassion, and adopting the beliefs and attitudes with intention that lead us closer to our personal ideal. So the greater degree that we can encompass this higher ideal, the more we can each overcome our own hypocrisy. And I've talked about hypocrisy before to you all. I believe we are all hypocrites to the degree that there is a gap between what we believe and what we say and do. And who doesn't have an issue? That's just part of being human. I find personally that the real difference and the important thing is what we're doing to become aware of it, and to become more, to better ourselves and overcome it in the lives of others. The fact that we have an ideal to begin with, is the important thing, and that we are aware of the gap. Fred also said, "It is not the honors and prizes and the fancy outsides of life which ultimately nourish our souls. It's knowing that the bedrock of our very being is good stuff." And so I guess that's what I'm talking about when I talk about ideals. Our very souls are the bedrock of our very being, which is good stuff. And it's easy to forget that in this day and age. This idea that we are all fundamentally good is also borne out in near-death experience videos that I read, and I also read books on the topic frequently. I've taken in a lot of them. There's a lot on YouTube. I highly recommend looking them up. There was one man I recall listening to who reported, as part of his remarkable experience, being drawn into this living matrix during the time that he was dead. He described it as a mandala that he also said was God. He understood to be God itself. And he saw every soul in existence, and that they were all pure. There was nothing bad in any soul. And I feel like Fred not only saw this truth, that he lived it. His power of conviction in the goodness of others emanated from his being in a way that others could feel it. Kindness is not something usually associated with power. To the contrary, being nice is almost synonymous with weakness. So what is the difference? And I thought about this, and I feel like it's in the power of intention and conviction, in the person that's extending the kindness. Is it a platitude, or is there a real belief that the person that you're addressing is deserving of love and tenderness and your attention? Because at their core, they are made of good stuff. I think Fred's superpower is that he could see through all the muck. The muck is what most of us get hung up on. Let's face it, human nature, all of us, is to get focused on judging, criticizing, and finding fault. This is, I find, the default mode for humanity. I won't go into all this, but I do believe it's an evolutionary process, that we were designed to see the problems so that we could survive. But when we focus on these things inwardly and outwardly, we grow those neural pathways, we strengthen them, and we feel in our hearts the judgment, criticism, and fault. It's the default, in other words, automatic and habitual. And what we focus on grows. Where awareness goes, energy flows. This is an ancient saying, and I have long believed it, but it's only been recently that I have come to the awareness of better ways to apply my attention and my focus, that belief and my ability to shift my awareness away from what's wrong with myself and with the world, and to fill my heart with love every day, sending energy to my heart, growing in the belief of my goodness and the goodness of others. It takes a lot of effort to overcome that default mode, which is why Fred's unconditional positive regard for all people that seem to flow so naturally for him is all the more remarkable to me. Fred paid attention, the power of attention, just having that person that's in front of you be the most important person in that moment in the world, held a kind of impact for the people that spoke about him that really touched their hearts. And yet it's so simple. So another quote, this one is from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So that becomes very evident listening to other people talk about Fred. One way I fill my heart with love is to watch videos on human kindness. If you listen to the news, you're doing the opposite. Not that you shouldn't pay attention to current affairs, but maybe to view it within a certain framework. But, what about spending at least as much time filling your mind and your soul with images of people doing good things for each other? So I have a YouTube video on human kindness for all of us to watch. Some of you may have seen these before. There's many, many, many online, and I looked at many to find one that I really wanted to show. And I'd like you to just try to pay attention to your reaction to each scene, each clip, and notice which ones touch you, which ones make you laugh or cry. And if there may even be negative reactions, we have that natural judge, critic, and fault finder in us. So, to notice what it is that you're finding fault with, because that can be a clue, for you. So, and then after the video is over, we'll have a group discussion about what you noticed. So I think we're ready to roll, Neil. Hopefully the technology works.
Hey, real quick, I got a question for you. You know what TikTok is by chance?
Yes.
All right, so look, we've been doing a live TikTok, man, and my followers have been wanting me to help out. We're doing a random act of kindness tonight, okay? So this is your tip, and it's $307, and it's all because of my followers on TikTok, man. They wanted to help out and just spread some positivity tonight, man, so we appreciate it.
Can you spot what's new in the front row? Well, yes, that is new, but there's something else new that I think you'll like. See if you spot it. Do you know what that is, Chase? Do you know what it is? Is it the new Xbox? Yeah! We're going to play it later. Yeah.
$5 from Noah.
I am so proud of you.
Oh my god, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much, Noah. Wait, aren't you? Noah is my mom's name. Mommy, did you just donate to me? Oh my god. That was my mom, guys. Okay, thank you.
Shut up, guys. Huh?
मेरा नाम करण पुरी है। मैं अकेला रहता हूँ, सीनियर सिटीजन हूँ, तुम लिख लो।
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear sir. Happy birthday to you. लो सर केक काटिए।
अब आपको बताओ।
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Neil. Oh, I think I'm okay. I thought I was on mute. So first, I just want to point out, what we just saw in this collection of clips is kindness extended to animals and human beings, kindness to people who were one's own family and people who were strangers, people who seemed to be in the United States, people who were living in other countries, things that cost money, things that did not cost money and were free. And from small gifts as small as $5 to literally saving somebody's life. And what there is to learn from these videos, what is the innate sense in us that is touched by kindness, whether from family or strangers, or whether the recipient is human or animal, and whether there are any negative reactions. And if so, we can talk about it. Because as Fred so wisely said, if something is mentionable, it is manageable. I think it's the failure to talk about real feelings in a way that others can hear it that is one of the issues with our society, and it is not limited to children. It is in all of us, this feeling of a need to avoid that, which makes us uncomfortable. So as a lead into our discussion, as I said, we're just noticing what moves you, what feelings arise, and anything that arises is acceptable and manageable, and in what kind of kindness matters and to whom. So is there anybody, could we unmute everybody and open the floor for discussion? Are we unmuted? Okay, so does anybody have any comments or observations?
I'll kick it off with a statement from the Course in Miracles. Why would that be a surprise? In the Course, Jesus says our purpose in life is to extend God's love. And every example that video showed was a person doing that, from a simple smile to someone getting in an elevator to literally jumping into a frozen river to rescue someone. All of these acts of kindness are, to all of the varying degrees, our opportunity to express God's love, brother to brother, brother to sister.
Did you have any particular ones, Bob, that impacted you?
I have never made an effort to memorize the or workshop or the workbook lessons. Which ones?
No, I mean the video clips. Were there any video clips that we just watched that were especially impactful to you?
I'm married to the most generous woman in the world, and giving donations to beggars is a daily routine in our household.
Nice.
Happens every time.
Nice. I just wanted to clarify, it looked like the video was a little bit choppy from my end. I don't know if it was for everybody, but there was a particular scene of a crowd of people on an escalator, and they were kind of jumping up and down. Yeah. And it was unclear to me at first, when I first watched the video, what was going on, but there was a little child stuck in the escalator at the top. And they freed the child by jumping on it and moving it. So I just wanted to clarify that in case that was hard for anyone else to pick out.
Notice.
If anybody else has anything, just feel free to speak up, because I can't see you if you're raising your hand.
Well, I'll say something, even though my picture isn't on here. I probably can get my video back on. There, hello everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying on the escalator scene because I couldn't figure out what was going on. But the thought that hit me, and it's a very strange kind of a reversal on the whole kindness thing, that I have no problems whatsoever extending acts of kindness to other people. But when someone does something kind for me, I have a hard time accepting it. And I'm trying to overcome that and be grateful and say thank you without feeling like push them away. Like, no, you're not supposed to do that. But I think a lot of people may have that same issue with kindness, that we love to give, but it's very hard to receive. But it was a very moving video.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Jane. I think that is a feeling that people often experience, and being the recipient of kindness. And that's a beautiful awareness, as my teacher would say to me. And something, an awareness that warrants, some attention. It just in giving it some love, some loving kindness, which we're going to have a chance to do later on today. Any other comments?
Mel, I'd just like to comment on Jane's comment, is that usually the ego steps in and saying, I don't deserve your gift, or I'm not good enough, or whatever, which really does injustice to the giver. It's kind of it's like you're stopping the whole act of giving, and it's undeserving to the giver. So just sit there and take it, because I know a lot of us have that problem.
I think we all do our best. I've certainly experienced this myself too. It's just, I've had trouble taking compliments, and, and of course it doesn't have anything to do with the giver. And, we do our best to be gracious, and it's, to me, it's just a matter for inward attention, directing that loving kindness inwardly. There's a lot more actually that could be said about that topic, because that's also a pretty universal human experience, I think. And I think it's a beautiful observation. So thank you for sharing it, Jane.
Melanie?
Does anybody have Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to say the one that kind of took me back was the young guy who was getting the wheelchair. He was already looked like he was maybe in his 20s, so he probably has been on his knees for that long a time. It changed his perspective of life. He's able to be in a chair looking at people, as opposed to being, scooting around on the ground, or however he got around. I just found that amazing.
His joy was especially palpable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Melanie?
Yes.
That other topic, I remember once when my daughter felt someone had done something for her. I don't remember what it was, but she was feeling kind of like, oh no, I don't deserve this, or something, or I don't want them to. And it occurred to me, and I said to her, well, Beth, they're building a positive karma for themselves. Let them. And she goes, oh, okay. So that kind of helped her through that discomfort when someone does something for you. It worked.
What was the comment, Marge?
Oh,
they're doing what for themselves?
They're building up positive karma.
Building positive karma. Okay.
Yeah, for themselves. And so she thought, oh, okay. It was almost like she's doing something for them then, by allowing them to do something for her. And it seemed to help a lot for her.
Yeah, so that is a good strategy, I think, for, when you accept a gift from someone, instead of thinking, negative thoughts about oneself and one's own worth and deservingness, to think positive thoughts about the person who's giving something to you. Isn't this person generous? Isn't that kind and thoughtful? And by projecting those thoughts, and they're building good karma, whatever works. That's my motto, to shift that energy from the from the negative to the positive. That's nice.
So the question I have is, people break down into tears when they're given something. So are they crying because they feel undeserving, or are they just taken aback by the kindness? Where do the tears come from? What is the genesis of that?
I think the answer to that is within each of us. Neil's got some love to give. I think, maybe it's something that is hard to define because this feeling in the heart of watching other people being touched so deeply. And one that made me cry was he appeared to be an Indian gentleman who was receiving a birthday cake, and he just stepped off to the side and had to wipe his tears away because people sang happy birthday to him. And when he came out, it was hard to tell because he was not speaking English, but he didn't seem to be especially happy at seeing all these people, and he might have even been scolding them. I don't know, but they really turned him around and made him cry. So what is it that makes a person cry? I think it's probably very individual, but also universal. I think that's the oxymoron. Ask yourself, what makes me cry when I am given something, that when I am a recipient of kindness. Yeah,
I think that, one thing that struck me about the video kind of speaks to Gloria's question too, is that these people were seen. They were seen as individuals. Sometimes when there's charity or something, you're just giving like to a group. I'm donating to this group. These people, and I was thinking about that man. He looked like it might have been during pandemic times. It looked like he had a mask around his face, and he was trying to tell, maybe this was his family. He was saying, "Go away," but that the givers all saw into the hearts, saw these people, saw what their need really was, what would make them joyful, and that sort of thing. Not just, besides the people that were being rescued, those are obvious, but when you see somebody and you just think, oh, I'm going to give them this or that, but when you really stop to see them as an individual and look at what would either change their life or put a smile on their face or whatever, I think it's because it's the individual to individual. I know people sometimes ask to help me when I'm in the grocery store because I'm pulling a cart and pushing Zach. And at first I found, oh, no, I can do it, kind of thing. And then I realized that they were, Zach made me realize that these people wanted to do something. And in doing that, I met some interesting people. There was a man who was a preacher that had just gotten off for Sunday afternoon, and he came, he had his family there. He said, we'll take care of our groceries. We'll help you get yours, and push my cart through the whole store. Young families with kids saying, let's help this lady out. Here, you push the cart, and then I'll help you put the groceries in the car. So they were using it, but they saw, for me, what would be very helpful in that moment for me, and didn't ignore it. They saw that for whatever reason, building karma or that a teaching moment, or just to be kind. And I think the tears come from feeling that somebody saw you, and you could feel that love.
I think that's a beautiful observation. And I can recall several of the clips that embodied that as well, such as The young man who was in front of his computer and his mother, who he called mommy, which I thought was adorable. She
Yeah.
gave him $5, but I had the sense that it wasn't the money that touched him so much. She accompanied that with that message, you know, I'm so proud of you. And I think that that really touched his heart. And some people got, like the man that got soccer shoes, he was dressed in his soccer outfit.
Right.
And it's a thing, but it touched on a belief, you know, on a deeply held dream for this young man. Yeah, so your observation that it's seeing that need, seeing the, you know, beyond the thing to the hopes and dreams and aspirations of other people and the needs of other people, and just having people be able to see that without being asked. It's almost like a miracle in a world where we, you know, can walk around with our blinders on.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, I would like to say something too. I think it is about being seen, for sure. Because
it's okay.
I've been the recipient of a lot, and you know, I don't want to do this, but
it's okay. It's honest.
Yeah. For me, it's like when I had my son Travis, and you know, it's like a lot of people didn't want to see you, and they ignored us, you know, or they were uncomfortable. And to me, it showed me who the people are. It's like a tell, you know, it's like for people who are, I'll say the word despondent in some way, you know, people who are struggling and they're on the streets asking for money. I think that's so brave of them to be able to go out and ask. You know, if I was in that situation, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could, you know, be out there and ask like they do. So I always have money in my car. So if I'm on that street corner, you know, I give them money. But I just think it's a tell, because a lot of people want to ignore people who are less than in their minds, you know, or however they perceive another person who they want to ignore. And so for me, it just brings me like tears of joy watching other people helping other people.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why people are on this earth in these situations, because it's not about what you have, but it's about helping another person when you see that other person. And I think that's why they're here. I think it's a huge learning lesson for all of us, you know. And that's how I see it.
Absolutely. That is a moving and heartfelt message. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's painful to be ignored and for people to just walk past without seeing the need. And I can think of, you know, times when I've done that in my life, and I always regret it. Not listening to that inner voice, and, you know, looking at the reasons why people are afraid, or they don't want to, you know, whatever. There could be many reasons, who knows. But, you know, watch it, you know, when you can experience the opposite and experience those who can and do reach out and see you, see us, you know, see the need. It's evident how powerful that is. That's why the talk is the immeasurable power of kindness. It is powerful. It has an impact. And, you know, our goal as humans is to just try to grow that in ourselves. I always turn things inward. And because we can never know what's in another person's mind and heart, we can never know why they might extend the kindness or why they might not. And that's kind of the juxtaposition that I'm hearing, you know, here with everybody, is what's the other person's intention and what do they have in their minds? Well, who knows? You know, to me, the only thing that I know is what's in my mind and my heart, and growing the thing that I want, and, you know, growing beyond the thing that I don't want. There was also a man who was getting money at the beginning. The very first video was a man who got money from a man who was on TikTok. And I think the part that the part got cut off at the end, I think, because the video was a little bit jerky, but this man was holding this empty pizza bag in his hand. And when the guy handed him money and explained to him, he had this look of wonder on his face. And at the end of that clip, he just drops the pizza bag and he's like enthralled, with this unexpected gift for a pizza delivery guy. How many days of salary would $300 be? And it could be days worth of money. And that bag just went blonk on the floor, just forgotten. And the look of wonder on his face. I don't know, were there any others that made people laugh, or any that made people cry, or have some kind of a emotional, heart-centered reaction? There was just to by way of reminding folks, because now it's some time's gone by.
Sherry had something.
Oh, okay, Sherry.
One of the ones that touched my heart was the little boy who was pretending to be the fireman.
Yeah.
And he must have had some pictures that he drew of the fireman or the fire truck. And
do you know that was actually a trash truck?
Yeah. Oh, was it? Okay.
It was a trash truck. He was dressed like a little tiny trash man.
Oh,
and the truck was exactly like the big truck. So yes, he was giving gifts to a trashman, which I found even more charming.
That is. It's just like, those little things that we do with children can go such a long way. When they're reaching out, they're so impressionable. And those little kindnesses to them and paying attention to them and seeing them, like you guys have said, being seen. So important. That one really made me smile.
Me too. I loved how he grabbed those bags with such enthusiasm and he just held them out, just thrust them at the guy. That was dear.
Yeah. That to speak again, take too much time. That one reminded me of my family when we were kids. My younger brother and my father would go out every Christmas Eve to places where people had to work. It wasn't as many back then, but there were places where people were working, and give money to people that were working. And then my brother started that same tradition with his son. And on Christmas Eve, they drive around to some places, and usually fast food place, or somewhere where it seems like somebody is working somewhere that probably is not getting a good wage, and just hand out money. And that's their Christmas Eve tradition. And I was thinking about that when the pizza guy, not expecting it, but that's just, my nephew will probably keep doing the same thing with his children if that happens. So they felt like seeing the people's faces, the gifts that they gave, and seeing the people's faces was their Christmas gift,
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? I think, one of the things I'm noticing is that this video has brought up all kinds of memories in people about their own experiences of kindness, and kindness is extended by people that they know. So it snowballs. And I think that's how we feed ourselves, just by using this with intention. So, as a kind of to bring the discussion to a close, just
one sec.
No, go ahead. Did I miss somebody?
Pam had something she wanted to say.
Please go ahead.
One of the things you said in the beginning that brings me to tears, Matt was bullied his entire life because he was different. They stole his clothes in a gym class. They pushed his books on the floor. There was this one guy where we lived who would walk up to him and say, "Pull your pants down," and make him do that. I mean, he was just horribly bullied. And I would go and I would talk to the principals, and the principals would say, there's really nothing I can do, Mrs. Garcia, because that was back before they did anything about bullying at all. And when you started that out and you said behind every, and you used the word jerk, there is usually a story. And I never got that far because my sad story was my son. But what he would do is he would just say, I'm not going to remember that. And he would just block it out of his mind and he wouldn't remember it. And I don't know how I was the one who was so affected by this more than he was, because he just blocked it all out and he doesn't even remember it anymore. But you think about that, what a horrible life they must live to be bullies like that.
Yeah, yeah, wow. It is so much more painful to watch someone we love go through something like that. And what a powerful choice Matt made to say, I'm not going to remember that. I'm gonna choose to focus on something else.
Right.
Melanie,
Yes.
when I first you sent that to me and I looked at it, it reminded me so much of, and every once in a while you'd see something similar to that on, it was one commercial or maybe a couple. You don't see that anymore. The Pay It Forward. And I don't remember whether it was what product that was, but it showed one person doing something for somebody else, maybe insurance company or something, and then that person would immediately do something for someone else. Years and years ago, somebody gave me a copy of a guide calling, and they said, "This is your copy, but you now have to go out and buy other copies to give away." And I kind of, I read guide calling, and then I don't know how many I've given away over the years, but the thing also that you said early on was that, and I read this recently, always offer kindness to somebody because you have no idea of the battles that they're experiencing.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah, and that's our journey to compassion, right? When we can extend some measure of understanding to other people's suffering, how much pain they must be in, to treat other people in that way. And that's why I believe, through my experiences and through watching videos like this and listening to you all, is that, what kind of kindness and compassion is ever wasted? None. There is no such thing. Anything as minuscule as picking a drowning bug out of the water, to saving a person's life, to giving somebody a buck. I mean, anything that's given with a heart of compassion is never wasted. And it's just our simple task to do the best we can in every little moment. So to end, I love quotes. I'm always using quotes, and I could not choose among these. So I just would like to read these quotes that I found online as I was writing my talk, and just as food for thought as we end. My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness. The Dalai Lama. Tenderness and kindness are not signs of weakness and despair, but manifestations of strength and resolution. Khalil Gibran. Conquer the angry one by not getting angry. Conquer the wicked by goodness. Conquer the stingy by generosity, and the liar by speaking the truth. Siddhartha Gautama, which is the Buddha. Be kind, as Neil just said, for everyone you meet is fighting some kind of battle. And this one was attributed to so many people that I just say it's anonymous. Always try to be a little kinder than is necessary. J.M. Barrie. It's a little embarrassing that after 45 years of studying the human condition, to have at the end of my life nothing better to offer by way of advice than try to be a little kinder. Aldous Huxley. And finally, we are all so deeply interconnected. We have no option but to love all, be kind, and do good for anyone, and that will be reflected. The ripples of the kind heart are the highest blessing of the universe. Amit Ray, in Yoga and Vipassana and Integrated Lifestyle. Blessings all. Thank you so much.
I think maybe now would be appropriate to do our affirmations for love offerings and tithes. And then I have a special request for you, Mel, before I stop the recording.
Okay.
So, these are our affirmations. Divine love flowing through us blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. And since we were recording and I didn't catch your little song in the beginning, for the purpose of this talk today, would you sing us out? And then we'll have our little, I'll stop the recording after you sing the song you sang in the beginning, and then we'll close. But could you sing that song again?
Sure, surely, yes. And if anybody wants to sing along, please feel free.
Although we are recording,
if
so
we're all doing music.
we are recording.
We're going to record it. Okay, gotcha. So don't sing. Sorry.
Sing privately.
Okay. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?